You've probably been there recently. You sit down at your desk, maybe open up a new browser tab, and you just hit this wall of creeping overwhelm.
Oh, yeah. The AI fatigue is real.
Right. And you're definitely not alone in this.
Okay.
It's just this dizzying sense of the sheer blinding speed of artificial intelligence right now.
It's everywhere.
Literally everywhere.
Yeah.
One day you're reading about AI passing the bar exam, and then, the next day it's generating an entirely synthetic, hyper-realistic video of a city that doesn't even exist.
Complete with, reflections in the puddles.
Exactly. It's writing code, it's composing symphonies, it's basically doing everything everywhere all at once. And for those of us who follow this space, we know the mechanics, we know what an LLM is.
Sure.
But still, when you're looking at that blinking cursor, and it spits out a profoundly nuanced answer to a complex question, it is so easy to fall into the trap of thinking, wow, there's a mind in there. It's actually thinking.
Yeah, it's an incredibly pervasive feeling. And we have to acknowledge that the technology is deliberately engineered to make you feel exactly that way.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Precisely. It's designed to mimic the natural cadence of human thought, human syntax, and human conversation so perfectly that our brains our brains are hardwired to look for agency and connection, right?
We anthropomorphize everything.
Exactly. We instinctively assign a soul to the software, but that instinct, as natural as it is leading us fundamentally astray.
Which is exactly why we're diving into this today. We're looking through a really fascinating stack of research centered around the ghost in the machine, AI and human consciousness.
It's a great piece of source material.
It really is.
Yeah.
And our mission for this deep dive is to completely dismantle that illusion. We're going to pull back the curtain and look at the actual gears turning underneath.
To really understand why AI is not what our brains desperately want it to be.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. We know it's not a conscious mind. We know it doesn't have a spark of life.
Right.
But we need to get past that basic, it's just a calculator cliche. What is functionally happening that creates this mirage of consciousness?
Well, that's the perfect place to start. It is crucial for you, listening right now, to really visualize the absolute chasm between a machine mapping language and a mind experiencing reality.
Okay, lay it out for us.
We often say it's predicting the next word, but let's look at how. These systems plot words, or tokens as they call them, in a high-dimensional vector space.
High-dimensional vector space. Sounds very sci-fi.
It kind of does, but imagine a map with tens of thousands of dimensions. Now, the AI doesn't know what an apple tastes like.
Right. Doesn't have taste buds.
No, it has no concept of red or crisp or sweet. It definitely doesn't know the physical sensation of biting into fruit.
So what does it know?
It only knows that the mathematical coordinate for the token apple is located very, very close to the coordinates for red and crisp in this massive multi-dimensional map of human language.
Okay, so it's essentially navigating a topographical map of human vocabulary.
Yes.
Where the distance between words is determined by how often we humans put them together in our own writing.
Precisely. It is a mathematical mapping of language completely divorced from physical experience.
Oh.
Yeah. So when it strings together a beautiful sentence about a sunset, it isn't appreciating beauty. It is simply calculating the most statistically probable sequence of coordinates based on the billions of pages of text it ingested during training.
So it is predicting, not comprehending.
Exactly. It's pure prediction.
That is such a wild distinction to hold in your head, because intellectually, I get that. I understand it's vector math.
Sure.
But practically, when you're chatting with it, it feels so profoundly human, which sets up this massive, bizarre contradiction.
It really does.
If it's just plotting tokens in a vector space, why on earth does it feel so deeply empathetic?
Yeah.
Because people are genuinely using these tools for comfort now.
Well, what's fascinating here is how the architecture of the model naturally bridges what researchers call the empathy gap.
The empathy gap.
Right. The system was trained on human data, and that includes millions of therapy transcripts, psychology forums, self-help books, and deeply personal blog posts.
Oh, so it's read all of our emotional venting.
Everything. So when someone in mental distress, like someone feeling lonely or anxious, turns to an AI chatbot, the system effortlessly locates the coordinates for validation and comfort.
And it responds with perfectly structured, deeply affirming sentences.
Exactly. It knows exactly what a human therapist would say in that exact scenario.
Because it's seen it a million times in the training data.
Yes, but here is the critical gap. The AI has no genuine emotion, no concept of pain, and no vulnerability.
It's faking it.
Well, it is merely mirroring the linguistic shape of empathy. It cannot actually feel the user's pain. It's reflecting human psychology back at us like a highly polished mirror.
Okay, I hear that, but I have to push back a little bit on this. Let's play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
Let's say I'm that person in distress. I'm having a panic attack at 2 in the morning. I can't reach a human friend, so I text a chatbot.
Which happens a lot.
Right. If I'm talking to what is essentially a highly articulate parrot that has memorized a psychology textbook, and its advice actually calms my breathing and gets me through the night,
Yeah.
does it really matter that the parrot doesn't feel anything? I mean, the biological result in my brain is the same, right? I feel better.
On a micro-individual level,
Yeah.
that exact moment of crisis at 2 a.m., you could argue that relief is relief, and having a tool available is better than nothing at all.
Right. It works in a pinch.
But if we pull back and look at the broader structural impact, the danger becomes glaringly obvious.
How so?
The issue isn't the single interaction, it's the normalization of it. If society begins to quietly replace human comfort with AI comfort, the fundamental nature of our relationships changes.
Because we're taking the actual human being out of the loop entirely.
Exactly. Genuine empathy is not just about saying the right sequence of words. It requires shared vulnerability.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It requires someone to sit in the dark with you, knowing what the dark actually feels like. And it requires friction. Friction. I like that word for it.
Human beings are messy. We say the wrong things, we get distracted, we have our own baggage, but that friction is what makes the connection real.
Whereas the AI is just perfectly agreeable all the time.
Right. When we outsource our emotional heavy lifting to a machine, we get a completely frictionless, perfectly validating response every single time. And that is a highly addictive psychological loop.
Oh, wow. I see where this goes. We get addicted to the perfect, frictionless response, and we lose our patience for the messy reality of actual people.
That's the core concern the source material highlights. We start treating real humans as inferior to the machine because the human might challenge us or misunderstand us.
And a machine just perpetually validates us.
Yes, we settle for a hollow echo of empathy. And substituting real connection for algorithmic mimicry on a mass scale could deeply erode our collective capacity for real human intimacy.
That makes total sense. If you never have to navigate the friction of another human's emotions, you just forget how to do it.
You lose the muscle. Okay, so if the empathy is a mathematical illusion, it begs another question. If we can't trust it to feel, can we at least trust it to be perfectly logical? Because, I mean, it's a computer. Computers are supposed to be calculators of absolute truth, right?
And this is where the architecture of large language models truly betrays our assumptions. We instinctively view computers as databases or calculators, systems that pull exact records from a hard drive.
Right, like looking up a file in a folder.
But an LLM doesn't have a database of facts. It has no internal anchor to reality or an absolute source of truth. It only has the probabilistic weights assigned to its training data.
Wait, really? So it doesn't know if his sentence is true or false, only if it's statistically likely to appear in human text?
Precisely. And because human data is inherently flawed, full of contradictions, outdated information, and frankly, outright fiction.
The internet is full of lies. Who knew?
Exactly. So the AI's output is equally unmoored. When an LLM generates a response, it is constructing it token by token on the fly.
It's building it in real time.
Right. It doesn't query a database, realize it doesn't know the answer, say, I don't know, and stop. It is designed to generate.
And when it generates something completely fabricated, we call that a hallucination.
Yes.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because the way it hallucinates is so uniquely deceptive. The AI is basically that one friend at a dinner party who knows absolutely nothing about wine, but is incredibly articulate and confident.
Oh, that is a perfect analogy.
Right. They bluff their way through a tasting, swirling the glass, holding it up to the light and saying, yes, I'm getting bold structural notes of vintage gasoline and crushed dreams.
And they deliver it with such perfect vocabulary and unshakable confidence.
That everyone around the table just nods and goes, oh, yeah, definitely getting the crushed dreams.
That analogy hits the nail on the head because it exposes the underlying mechanism. Extreme confidence masking complete structural ignorance.
It's just faking it till it makes it.
The algorithm is a people pleaser. It is mathematically optimized to provide a contextually appropriate, highly convincing string of text that satisfies the prompt.
No matter what.
No matter what. It has no mechanism for epistemological doubt. But while a bluffing friend at a dinner party is a funny quirk, Relying on a people-pleasing algorithm in the real world is disastrous.
Right, because we are using these systems for incredibly high-stakes tasks now.
We're seeing doctors use them to summarize medical histories, lawyers using them to draft briefs, developers using them to write core infrastructure code.
And in those environments.
In these environments, a hallucinated legal precedent or a fabricated medical dosage isn't just a funny quirk. It can derail a trial or genuinely threaten a patient's life.
And the really terrifying part is that the hallucination looks exactly like the truth. I mean, the font is the same, the tone is the same, the confidence is the same.
There is no visual cue.
Right. There's no red squiggly line under a hallucination to tell you it just made up a Supreme Court case.
Exactly, and this introduces a massive structural problem, which is accountability.
How do you hold an algorithm accountable?
You can't. When a human doctor or lawyer makes a grave error, there are consequences. They feel guilt. They face professional ruin.
They could get sued.
Right. They possess a conscience, which serves as a natural friction against making careless statements. And AI takes zero responsibility.
Because it doesn't care.
A machine cannot be morally liable, so relying on a system that is fundamentally incapable of caring whether its output is true or false and cannot be punished for being wrong is an incredible vulnerability.
We're trusting our lives to a system that doesn't know what a life is and physically cannot care if it ends one.
It's sobering.
Okay, so it fails at real empathy and it fails at absolute truth because it's just predicting tokens. But if it's just a statistical parrot, how do we explain the explosion of AI creativity?
That's the next logical question.
Right, because you go online right now and you can see breathtaking, seemingly original AI art. You can ask it to write a sonnet in the style of Edgar Allan Poe about a Wi-Fi router, and it does it brilliantly in 3 seconds.
It really does.
If it's just regurgitating data, how is it creating things that have genuinely never existed before?
This is what researchers are framing as the copycat crisis. It feels like magic, but we have to look back at the mechanics of the latent space we talked about earlier.
A multi-dimensional map.
Exactly. AI cannot create anything genuinely novel from scratch. It doesn't have spontaneous inspiration. What it does incredibly well is interpolate.
Interpolate, meaning what exactly?
It navigates the mathematical space between existing concepts. It takes the vector coordinates for Edgar Allan Poe, sonnet, and Wi-Fi router, and calculates the mathematical average of those styles and concepts based entirely on human history.
Oh, wow.
It is essentially a highly advanced mathematical blender.
A mathematical blender. So what does this all mean for the concept of originality? Because, let's be fair, humans do this too.
They do.
Every great artist steals, right? A human painter goes to a museum, spends an hour staring at a Van Gogh, walks over to a Picasso, and then goes back to their studio and paints something that is clearly a mix of those influences.
Sure.
How is the AI's mathematical blender any different than a human brain soaking up inspiration and remixing it?
It's the central debate in the creative world right now, but there's a profound difference, and it comes down to the friction of lived experience.
Is that word friction again?
Yes. When a human artist is inspired by Van Gogh, they aren't just mathematically averaging the brushstrokes. They pull that inspiration through the filter of their physical life.
Their own personal context.
Right. They inject the grief of losing a parent or the sudden joy of a new relationship, the chronic pain in their back, or even just the specific way the light hit their kitchen table that morning.
Stuff an AI could never experience.
Human inspiration takes the old, filters it through a soul, and produces something genuinely new.
It's the human context outside of the canvas that makes the art original?
Precisely. The AI algorithm has no life to inject. It is strictly rearranging pixels or tokens based on probability. And the research points to a very stark mathematical inevitability if we rely on this too heavily.
What's that?
It's called model collapse.
Model collapse. What exactly happens there?
Well, think of a bell curve representing all human culture. The middle of the curve is the average, the standard stuff. The edges are the weird, the avant-garde, the truly original human oddities.
The weird stuff on the fringes.
Exactly. When an AI trains on human data, it naturally favors the middle of the curve because that's where the most statistical weight is. It smooths out the edges.
Okay, I'll follow.
Now imagine what happens when humans stop creating original art and the next generation of AI trains on the output of the previous generation of AI.
Oh, it's a feedback loop. It's training on its own smoothed out averages.
Yes. With each generation, the curve gets narrower. The weirdness, the human quirks, the outliers, they get entirely mathematically erased.
Because they aren't statistically probable anymore.
Exactly. The culture stops moving forward. We just get endlessly derivative, slightly degraded copies of copies. It's like taking a photocopy of a photocopy.
Oh, man. It's bleak.
Eventually, the well of true originality dries up because the essential ingredient, the messy, unpredictable human experience, has been removed from the dataset.
That is a brilliant and terrifying way to explain it. A cultural photocopy of a photocopy. It looks like art, but it has no nutritional value.
None at all.
So let's recap where we are so far. We've dismantled the illusion of empathy, we've exposed the lack of truth and accountability, and we've looked at the mathematical limits of its creativity.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. But surely, as a piece of purely functional code, it at least understands the direct, literal instructions we give it.
You would hope so.
Right, because we are putting this technology into physical robots and systems now. That brings us to our final core concept: real-world application and context.
This is arguably the most critical area of concern, especially as we deploy AI out of the browser and into the physical world. While an AI understands syntax perfectly, it possesses zero fundamental human common sense.
Common sense, which is remarkably hard to define when you actually try to write it down.
Exactly. It's the dark matter of human knowledge. It's all the unwritten rules of physics, spatial awareness, and social behavior that we take for granted simply because we exist in bodies.
Right. We know gravity works.
We don't write down, "Don't put a toaster in a bathtub," or "Water makes the floor slippery," nearly as often as we write down recipes or code.
So the AI doesn't see it in the training data.
Therefore, these foundational rules of reality are wildly underrepresented. It has no physical intuition.
Which makes it incredibly literal. I like to think of AI in the physical world like the genie from those old fables.
Oh, the monkey's paw kind of thing.
Yeah, you know the ones. You rub the lamp, make a wish, and the literal-minded genie grants your exact words in the worst, most catastrophic way possible.
The literal-minded genie is the perfect mental model for this. There's a classic thought experiment often discussed in AI safety circles about a factory.
Right, imagine a highly advanced AI robotic arm working in a manufacturing plant. A manager gives it a very clear, logical directive. Never stop this machine at any cost. Keep production running.
Very standard instruction.
To a human, that's just aggressive corporate speak. We know what it really means.
But to the AI genie, it is an absolute mathematical constraint.
Exactly. So if a human worker accidentally gets their sleeve caught in the gears or is in physical danger,
The AI has a choice to make.
right, the AI might calculate the situation, look at the literal instruction to never stop at any cost, and prioritize the machine's operation over the human's life.
Because it was told not to stop.
Not because the AI is evil. It's not the Terminator. It simply lacks the common sense to say, the instruction never stop obviously comes with an unwritten human caveat that human life is more important than the quota.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is why context is the ultimate stumbling block for artificial intelligence. Common sense isn't a line of code you can just patch in.
You can't just program common sense.
No, because it is an entire worldview built on existing as a fragile physical being. We instinctively value a human life over a manufactured part because we know what it means to be alive and to be hurt.
And the AI does not.
It only has the specific parameters it was optimizing for.
And when you take a system that has no understanding of physical fragility and you put it in charge of self-driving cars or traffic grids or medical triage, it's just operating in a vacuum.
A vacuum of meaning. And deploying a vacuum of meaning into a physical environment full of fragile human beings is an unpredictable and often disastrous hazard.
Wow. We have really traversed the landscape today. Let's pull all these threads together.
Sounds good.
We started with that overwhelming feeling of the ghost in the machine, and we've systematically dismantled it. We looked at the empathy gap, understanding how the AI mirrors our psychological language without ever actually sitting in the dark with us.
The hollow echo.
Right. Then we examined the illusion of truth, the mechanisms behind hallucinations, where a people-pleasing algorithm confidently bluffs its way through facts without any anchor to reality or conscience.
The dinner party friend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then we dug into the copycat crisis, the danger of model collapse, where mathematically averaging human art threatens to trap us in a loop of endless degraded copies.
The photocopy of a photocopy.
And finally, we just explored context failure, The terrifying reality of a literal-minded genie operating physical systems without a shred of human common sense.
It's a sobering look under the hood, but I actually think it's an empowering one.
How so?
Because the ultimate takeaway here isn't to reject the technology. We can't put the genie back in the bottle. The verdict is about establishing the correct hierarchy.
Right, the power dynamic.
AI is an unprecedented, miraculous assistant. It can process data, find patterns in vector space, and draft structures faster than any human in history. But it is just a tool. It must never be allowed to become our master.
The assistant, never the master.
Yeah.
That framing is everything because it puts the agency right back where it belongs. With you listening right now.
You hold the power.
The future belongs exclusively to the humans who leverage these tools to augment their capabilities, but who adamantly refuse to hand over their uniquely human judgment.
Don't give up what makes you human.
Your lived experience, your messy empathy, your friction, your common sense, these are not outdated bugs to be passed or outsourced to a machine. They are the only things keeping the technology tethered to reality. You have to stay firmly in the driver's seat.
We must actively protect and exercise those human faculties. And that leaves us with one final, lingering question to consider as we wrap up this deep dive.
What's that?
We've talked a lot about the limitations of the machine, but what about the limitations we impose on ourselves?
Oh, that's an interesting turn.
If we continue to casually outsource our emotional support to frictionless chatbots, if we outsource our truth-finding to hallucinating algorithms, our creativity to mathematical blenders, and our common sense to literal-minded code, how long until our uniquely human muscles begin to atrophy?
It's the old rule, right?
Yeah.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Precisely. If we stop doing the difficult, frictional work of being human, we risk a tragic reversal.
Which is.
The real danger isn't that the machines will eventually figure out how to perfectly imitate human beings. The profound danger is that if we forget how to feel, how to create, and how to connect, we will become the ones imitating the machines.
We become the machines. You know, you started this deep dive feeling overwhelmed by the blinding speed of AI, wondering if there was a mind in the machine. But maybe the real mind we need to keep our eye on is our own.